Good morning, everyone. We've got to throw in some hydraulic oil and cool it into the truck because we got some breakdowns to fix. That's for a semi truck that's low, and this is for that auger tractor that shot out a bunch of hydraulic oil when that cylinder blew yesterday. I guess that's hydraulic oil. It says it is, but I don't trust it. First rule of chemistry, if you're not sure what the compound is, you smell it. And if it smells safe, then you taste it. Looks like High Guard. Smells like High Guard. Tastes like High Guard. I'm just kidding, I didn't taste it. The dogs are like, hello? How can we be of assistance? Do you need a tennis ball? Possibly a rope? We have those. I'd say this is the truck that needs coolant.
Tell me when. We'll put it up to enough.
Oh no, you're not even to the minimum yet. We've got Katie headed up to Arthur's Farm Repair in Hinesboro. She's the perfect candidate for that parts run because she drives the fastest out of all of us. Only thing that could slow her down is the sheriff. Speaking of the devil, there's Katie with the cylinder as we speak. Okay, Dad ran off to Alliance Tractor for what he claims is hydraulic oil and a few other things, which I think is just code for coffee. I'm gonna grease Katie's combine and check her oil and then go back to the bin site. Okay, combines are taken care of. Now we get to get our steed to the field. You can always tell when my dad was the last one in a tractor because he's notorious for not putting the throttle back down to 0 or minimum RPMs when he gets out. Before we head to the field, I am going to check the bin. I do keep track of the bushels into each destination through LibreCart. It says about 20,000 and change, so this bin ought to be a ring down. Yep, the old knock test, actually a little bit less than a ring. It's not going to take us very long to fill. Obviously, the bad news is that this bin site is going to be completed here within the next 30 minutes or so. The good news is, and also bad news, is that the corn is like 13%, so storage shouldn't be an issue this winter. These darn combine operators hardly even give the logistics team, like myself and the truckers, a break. They're running before we're even ready. We are going to do a few strip trials this morning, pick it through and weigh it to get the actual yield on a fancy new hybrid that Pioneer has given us access to, and other people, not like we're in an exclusive club, that's been absolutely steamrolling plots around the country, and we want to see if it's as good as they say it is on our farm. Of course, my dad didn't punch it into his John Deere monitor when he was planting. I'm assuming that this strip of corn right here is that Pioneer 1482 Chrome that I've been referring to up to this point. There's also 117 day that's been killing it in the plots. We're just gonna pick a little bit, see how it does. This down here was Pioneer 0953, and then the rest of the field so far is Channel 21046, which is also a good corn in its own right. But we're hoping to see if this corn is all that it's touted to be this year. We will hop into the nosy neighbor feature here. Keep in mind that our yield monitor is probably 3 to 4% high on average. We're looking at the instant here. Wow, 300s, 290, 270, 300, 280, 300, 280, 300. Is it glitched? Wow, that's pretty good. Now the field average isn't as high. To be fair, we've already picked 100 acres on this field. So all of the corn up to this point has been a little bit lackluster. We could just be on a better spot in the farm too, to be completely objective on this analysis. But those are some impressive numbers so far. We'll see what it weighs on the cart. Wrote it down on my window with the dry erase marker, 376 bushels in the cart when we started. He's gonna dump off his hopper, which is already 3/4 full.
Start picking.
First through that corn was 687 bushels. Dad's gonna pick one more through. I'm gonna catch Katie, load a truck, and then we're gonna get one more sample out of this corn. ditch that idea. I guess we're just going with one check strip and then hitting the ground running because my dad is the most impatient man I've ever met. I'm driving the through where we picked that from in row to in row, measuring the distance so we can calculate how many acres was in that strip that we harvested. I have no idea how accurate this even is, but it's better than any guesstimate I could have made. That measured 1,663 feet times 30, because that's the width of the corn head, divided by 43,560, and you get 1.145 acres. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here. 311 divided by 1.15 is 270 bushel corn, 1482 cube Pioneer. I would take 270 across our whole farm if I could get it. Now, for the sake of comparison, we're doing a strip of the channel 21046 corn we have a little bit to the north of that. Started with 210 bushels in the cart. That's ironic because the hybrid's 21046. We'll see what we get. I'm getting overwhelmed. I can't finish what I'm working on because I got to keep the other combine running. And I'll give you the results in a minute. All right, measuring the channel strip real quick so we can get an accurate yield. Assuming that's accurate, 1657, very negligible difference between the two passes. Take 1657 times 30 divided by 43,560. That's how many square feet are in an acre, 1.14. So we will clear that. It yielded 279 divided by 1.14. That is 244 bushel an acre. The Pioneer 1482Q was right at 270. I mean, I don't really need to do this, but that is that did not make any sense. Let's just do it this way. 240 minus 244, whatever. 26 bushel an acre difference. I may have meddled something up. The Pioneer corn was at least 20 bushel an acre better than the channel corn. That is a huge difference, and actually kind of surprising if you ask me. Our farm is not biased in any specific direction. We plant a very healthy mixture of genetics from all of the big companies. A lot of Corteva through Pioneer, and a lot of Bayer through various bags, whether it be DeKalb, a little bit of Channel, and then we work with Bex on a few farms with a landowner. Objectively speaking, the last few years, Bayer has had Pioneer/Corteva's number. They've just had better corn, albeit marginally, maybe 3 or 4 bushel an acre. The Pioneer corn has not been as good as the Bayer genetics. These new chrome hybrids, the 1482, and then they've got a 117-day number I mentioned earlier, has just been absolutely stomping the competition, especially the Bayer genetics, in plots, independent plots around the country. I mean, by a wide margin, 20 to 30 bushel an acre, like we're seeing right here. To put it in perspective for you, a 20 to 30 bushel an acre advantage is ginormous in corn. Usually the margin's fairly tight. This field is a fair representation of yields, I think. It's relatively flat on the backside, all good ground. It all got the same amount of rain, no extra tile in any specific area. Just a good representation of a side-by-side of two hybrids. The 21046 channel was really good for us last year, raising 250 plus on a lot of farms where we had it, right on par with everything else. As a matter of fact, it's probably better than the Pioneer hybrids we had last year. However, this year, the Pioneer Chrome hybrid that we had 25 acres of was just kicking the snot out of everything. Take that with a grain of salt. I'm not pushing the Pioneer, but the data we're seeing in independent plots is being validated on our farm. It is darn good corn. If you can grab a couple bags of it or a box or two of the Chrome 114 or 117 day corn, definitely do so. Fair warning though, when something does this good one year, the next year it's bound to be a flop because everyone will plant it. So hopefully that's not the case. We're going to try to get as many boxes of the 114 and 117 day Pioneer Chrome corn as we can. You should do the same. Our neighbors Bill and Stan Uphoff, which you've probably heard me mention here on the channel numerous times, have the 117 day Pioneer corn versus a channel hybrid. They're huge channel customers, although they also like to plant some Pioneer. They do side-by-side splits in their planter everywhere, and they get really good yield data because I think they have the precision yield sense in their S780. I also did a few foliar product trials for them when I sprayed their corn fungicide. I'm really hoping that they share some of that data with me just so I can see it from my own eyes. Be nice to know what's working and what's not this year. I guess it's always this year because, like I said, next year could be completely different. It wouldn't take very long. The last bin here that this bin site is full, we're going to be helping move the auger back into the main bin site to fill the new 48-foot bin. These bins here are Dad's. The new bin at the main bin site is Dad's. Not everything is the same. Some stuff is Dad's, some stuff is my dad and his brothers. I mean, that's the majority of our storage, but then we've got some other family we farm for. Whatever, that's probably just going to confuse you guys. Again, 44,000 bushels plus or minus 1,000 or 2 is what we're expecting to get in there. Take us all day to fill it, if not into tomorrow. We're not hauling a half mile down the road anymore. We're hauling about 6 miles to the main farm. So 2 combines is going to be a little bit too much. I give the trucks less than 15 minutes before we've completely caught them. The only thing working for us here is that we've got like 20 acres left, so it'll slow us down when we move to the next field, but I don't think the trucks are keeping up. This field's pretty much wrapped up, other than waiting on the trucks to show up to zero out the scales. There's the final average on that field that we were working on since yesterday. It was mostly channel 21046, 25 acres of Pioneer 0953, and then 25 acres of that Pioneer 1482Q that was just knocking the yield out of the park. Average dry yield for the whole farm was 246. Definitely satisfied with that this year. Logistics have finally got the best of us here. Katie's running the big combine, second combine's parked. Dad is in one of the semi trucks, and I'm in the grain cart, of course. Not a big field. Our furthest east field that we're hauling to that bin site to the west. We're gonna be moving a couple miles closer once we get this wrapped up in another hour or so, and then we might be able to run both combines again. I don't know about you guys, it gets kind of stale doing the same thing every day, all day, for 12 plus hours. I wouldn't mind hopping in a semi personally and running that, but no one else seems to want to run the grain cart, which I don't understand why. I've got massaging seats. Didn't take us too long to finish up this field. I'm always grateful to be out of here because I hate watching the trucks pull in and out of this narrow bridge onto a super busy highway. It's just a safety hazard through and through. All right, that field right there, which was a mixture of channel 21046 and DeKalb 11135, made 232 bushel an acre dry. That's pretty good. It's not as dark a soil as this one or this one here that made 240 and change and then 253. A little bit more roll to that ground, a little bit lighter, so dry year you're not going to see as exceptional of yields. That does conclude all of our corn east of 57 here, south of Lakeland. Dad looks like he went to the fuel tank. However, I would speculate that we'll be moving to this field to pick this little small triangle, and then we've got another one up here and another one there. We've also got a field over here, which this one's really good dirt, so I'm excited to see how that does. This field up here, terrible dirt, probably be bad, but that's kind of what we're doing today. He's here at the fuel barrel. Dad is opening up that small little triangle field. We'll cross the interstate and join him. It almost never fails that when you're harvesting next to the interstate, the wind is always blowing towards the interstate. Sorry, fellow travelers. One of my favorite things to do when we're farming next to the interstate is to sit here and pick out which truck I want to pull my sprayer tanker trailer next year. Looking for a shined up, long-nosed Peterbilt. Surely we'll see one eventually. Well, it may not be fun. At least it's convenient. Oh yes, my favorite time of day. Melt my eyeballs trying to look at the truck with the sun right on the other side while I'm trying to load. At least I have an excuse if I spill, I can't see anything. So according to LibreCart, this little 16-acre patch made 219 bushels an acre, which is not the full truth. The corn definitely did better. I just have no idea what this first through 12 rows that Dad picked 3 or 4 weeks ago yielded. Safe to say this corn probably yielded closer to 230, which not too bad. The million-dollar question, which combine do I catch first? The one that's full or the one whose driver pays the bills? Oh, that's easy. Yeah, I moseyed on over through the 50 bushel an acre soybean field ground. Don't feel too bad about that, using it as a mule trail to load the truck. I look back over and the combine's already waiting on me. Gee willikers. Appears to be quitting time. I will see you all first thing in the morning. Helena's already out and about today, spreading fertilizer on us. They got a pretty early start. I saw them roll by at 6 o'clock this morning to get out and about. Although they're on corn stalks, so we may just be putting on potassium, I'm not sure. With the yields we've pulled off in both corn and soybeans over the last 5 to 10 years, it actually takes a tremendous amount of dry fertilizer to technically offset what is removed from the field in the grain, both in the corn and soybeans. There's a lot of potassium and phosphorus that you have to put back out there to replace what you've taken from the soil. You don't really want to deplete your soil test levels, but at the same time, you don't want to over apply, and you also have to consider the economics of the prices. Like the last few years, dry fertilizer prices and nitrogen have been sky high, so we try to balance that game. This year we're running DAP and potash on all of our soybean stubble going into corn. We like to put the DAP, or the nitrogen containing phosphates, on our soybean stubble because we hope that maybe a little bit of that nitrogen is still there next spring to help our corn crop out because it's nitrogen hungry. And then we come back on just our corn stalks and apply potash or a potassium product because beans do like quite a bit of potash on top of phosphorus, but that's kind of how we do it. Helena has sold us this year on a variable rate fertilizer program. Essentially, it is a way to be more efficient with your fertility program. They go around and take soil tests on grids across your farm, cross-reference it with soil type, and then they generate a map saying, hey, this area has insane potassium levels. Why don't we cut that back? They can kind of move around the metrics. We told them, hey, we don't want to put on any less than 100 pounds of potash and let's say 200 pounds of DAP. They go through, they say, okay, well, this area is testing way out of this world, probably from a lifetime of cattle manure. Let's put on 100 pounds here, and then there may be another area where it's not testing very good. Let's put on 300 pounds here. Of course, we pay a little bit more for the service. However, we actually end up saving a lot of money on the fertilizer because we're not over applying places where the soil tells us it doesn't need more. Those of you who are involved with livestock know there's no amount of dry fertilizer you can put on that can even come close to what cattle manure, hog manure has to offer. We got farms that haven't seen any kind of manure in probably 30 years, and their soil tests are still ridiculous. They grow some of our best crops, probably a little bit to do with increased organic matter. Nonetheless, that's the ticket to huge yields, is manure. We just don't have access to it. The new big 48 footer is almost half full. I show about 20,000 bushels in it. We should have this wrapped up by midday today, assuming nothing bad happens to us. So much for the 100% 50% chance of rain they were calling for 30 minutes ago in the forecast. It's not here. It's not raining. Make the meteorologists like 3 for 60 now this year. They're not doing very good. Speaking of not very good, this is one of our poor farms. In my neck of the woods, when there's trees next to the farm, there's a lot of rolling terraces, and the soil looks like this. Not poor, but not great either. Probably not going to be good on a year where it doesn't rain a lot. Yeah, your notes say 1359 Pioneer. Dad was asking what hybrid it was. It says 1359 in his notebook that I copied onto my spreadsheet. Sometimes I'm not sure if he even writes down the right thing half the time. Numbers are in. Pioneer 1359 made 206 bushels an acre. Respectable yield, especially considering the field directly to the south in soybeans made 56, 57. So yield potential probably was not that high on this light rolling top of the moraine ground that doesn't have a lot of high quality soil or good water holding capacity. I will say that I've never been impressed with Pioneer 1359. We've grown it for 3 or 4 years now. It lost up north on good ground last year to a Bex hybrid by like 20 plus, 25 bushel an acre. That being said, I think Pioneer's newer numbers like that 1482 Chrome that we looked at yesterday is a lot better of a hybrid than some of these other ones. The one thing I don't think we do very well on the corn side of things is hybrid placement based on the farm. We do that with soybeans. Everything is placed to the T, whether it be the strengths of that variety of soybeans, the day length we're looking for to kind of fit in our management regimen, when we want to cut it, what we think the farm needs. Corn, Dad just kind of orders however many acres of different boxes he thinks he needs, and then whatever he puts in the planter based on what's in the shed, that's what happens. I really think that we could improve our corn averages and make them more consistent by putting them more accurately on the farm based on their strengths and weaknesses. 1359 probably is good in some environments. I just don't know that it's been great for us. That 80-some acre cornfield south of the main farm made like 230 dry. That's usually one of our better yielding farms, but it is light soil, so maybe the rain hurt it. Across the road, corn was making 245, so I don't know. It's hard to conversate with you. The combine drivers are chatty today. Good news, field across the road is equally poor soil, and it's also got Pioneer 1359 on it, so we'll see how it does over there. Windows, my cameras, my mirrors, everything is dusty and needs clean. That field's all wrapped up. I expected that to be our worst farm. It's like the previous farm, except for there's no low spot to it. It's all high ground, very poor, lifetime of erosion, not from farming, just from, you know, the formation of this landscape. The only thing that actually probably does that a little bit is there was 2 rounds or so that we picked off 3 or 4 weeks ago, like we did with that other field. Maybe add 4 or 5 bushel an acre to this. I don't know. If not, 6, 7, 8. So it's over 200 bushel corn dry. I can guarantee that. Still probably on the bottom of our list in terms of yield. Also bottom of our list in terms of expectations. So falling in line accordingly. We are moving to another small field to the southwest about 4 miles. It's on the other side of that tree line. Tucked in that tree line is a raised up railroad track. It's a CN line that runs through there. You can't see it because of the trees, but we are going to almost a completely different farm. This soil type is way better than where we're leaving, and it's only 4 miles away. We made it to the promised land, the other side of the tracks. Hey, speaking of the CN, there they go right there, hidden behind the trees. Just to visualize the variability in soil type and expected productivity in this area, we came from up here, these fields making 200 bushel an acre, let's say. Before that, we were down at these two fields making 245, 250 and change. This field over here, 230. And then we're back over here expecting 240 plus out of this field. And then eventually we're gonna move up to this field and we'd be lucky to get 200 out of that one. So the glacial moraine is kind of across here. A lot of that erosion came down from the top, from the glaciers, pushing dirt, and then we get that glacial outwash on the bottom, giving us some pockets of extremely fertile soil. Once you get north of this glacial moraine, not that you can really see it in the map, and you get up in here to Mattoon, Route 16 and north, this is where you really run into the flat, square, black, super productive, high dollar an acre ground that can just churn out the crop, especially with low rainfall, as these two cornfields here showed making 240 plus without much rain, these beans making 80 plus. That's just the difference in soil type, topography, and location. Yield monitor's looking a little bit better. I was actually hoping for more. Maybe we haven't got into the heart of the field. Usually end rows are always drugged down a little bit compared to the actual long rows of the field where there's less disturbance. Either way, this is going to be 25 bushel an acre better than the last field. 2 years ago, when this was corn, we had tracts on the 780 mudding this corn out because it was so wet in October. This year we can't even buy a rain. Knocking on 44,000 bushels of corn in that south 48-foot grain bin, which puts it right at full. Dad ran off to go supervise the finishing of it, and to be quite honest with you, I was getting bored in the grain cart, so I was going to run the combine until it's full, or until a truck shows up. Hi, 13%? No, it's not making 300. No, actually, maybe it is. I don't know. It is dry though. Hop out and load this truck real quick and maybe not even get back in because he's here. Be a good time to have a shovel, Katie. There's our 42,000 bushel of corn. If it was wetter than 13%, 15 or 16%, we probably could have fit a little bit more in here. Once the corn gets super dry, it doesn't like to pile as high, as opposed to 20, 25, 30% corn that piles really high, but it's not as dense. So there's definitely a curve there for optimal storage. There's kind of an inverse relationship. The wetter it is, the worse it stores, the less dense it is. The drier it is, the more dense it is, the longer you can store it safely without having to worry about it going off grade. But at the same time, there's like an optimal level in there, which is obviously 15 to 16%, because you get all of your bang for buck in storage volume and in extra moisture without being concerned about long-term storage. On Libra card, I'd weighed out about 44,000 bushels to that south 48-foot bin. Got a loaded 10-wheeler, a fully loaded semi, and then 2/3 loaded semi, which would be 2,000 bushels. So it looks like we got about 42,000 in that south bin. The split's changing on these bins. We're intermingling here in this, so I'm gonna have to do some record keeping on LibreCart, which is relatively easy. Just change a few destinations and then split some loads accordingly, and then our records will all be clean. Back at the cart, just loaded the last truck off of this field, DeKalb 6357, pretty good ground. It made 234 bushel an acre dry at 13%. Good corn. Could be better for this farm and for this year in my opinion. Not bad though. The story of this year, some farms could have been better, some could be worse. They'll all average out somewhere in the middle. This is the compromise we have to make to open up with a 12 and an 8 row corn head following a 24 row planter. Dad picks a full 12, Katie picks an 8 and a 4, and then they do the same on the way back. That math adds up to 48, and you don't have to crowd the bulk row in the middle and risk running corn over. Hey, say hi. Sun is setting. Boss man's ready to call it quits, so I'll check in with you guys tomorrow.